Yeah. They hate when you elevate. They stacking up losses, I'm handing them out, yeah, I had to go delegate. It feel like I'm floating, I'm lost in the moment, I swear I could levitate. They never believed that I would really fly, I had to go demonstrate.
What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Damion Crier. So I hope all of you guys are having a wonderful, blessed, and amazing day, evening, afternoon, whatever time it is, wherever you at. I'm doing okay, guys. So basically, it's been a while since I did a video like this, and you know, so every once in a while, I do a video like this so I can keep, you know, memories alive, especially people that I lost close to me. You know, my mom, my brother, you know, as a lot of you guys know, if all of you don't know, I lost one of my own children. And so, you know, there comes a time where we set everything else to the side to remember and think about and reflect on other things that's more important to you. You know, as you guys do know, there's a lot of changes going on with YouTube. A lot of changes going on in a whole lot of different areas right now when it comes to social media. So far, if anybody say that I'm doing a video like this to make somebody feel bad or feel sorry for me or for clicks and views, just know that that's not the case. When it comes to clicks and views, trust me, I'm getting millions of clicks and views every day. So this video is just to remember, you know, some things that happened to me in my life where I literally lost it all. You know, and when I say lost it all, you know, several years ago, I had some crazy stuff happen to me, man. You know, and like it all happened to me around the same time where it like changed my life. And, you know, I was losing weight. You know, I was teary-eyed a lot. I used to be at work stressed out every day. You know, and to be honest with you guys, there was a point in my life where you guys probably don't even know until now that there was a point in my life where I didn't even want to even be here anymore. You know, I didn't even want to be here. Like literally, I didn't even want to be here anymore at all. You know, some of you have already heard the story, you know, over the last, you know, 3 or 4 years. And every time that I do this video right here, I always feel a different way about it because I think more and more about things that happen, things that might have happened, you know, things that could have been done to prevent things from happening and taking place. You guys know, when I lost my son, Deontay, yes, this video is going to be about him. You know, I'm going to always keep his name alive. You know, he was my son. He was my oldest son. You know, he was a part of me. You know, years ago, this is a couple of years before I moved out here in Houston. I moved out here in 2019. Before that, I had lived in Indiana. You know, I was living a normal life like everybody else. You know, going to work every day, love watching movies, going fishing, doing yard work, you know, doing the stuff that people do. And one day, my son Deontay, he had called me. It was like, no, he had texted me. Deontay had texted me. I had been to work. It was early in the morning. He had texted me and he was like, "Hey Dad, can I use your boat?" And I remember I was trying to text him back and forth, but I couldn't get caught on my phone because when we're on the floor at work, we're not supposed to be on cell phones because it's easy to get hurt texting and not paying attention to the overhead cranes and stuff going over your head. And so I remember slipping in one of the restrooms. I had called him. I was like, "What's going on?" He said, "I want to use your boat to go fishing." I was like, "Well, go ahead." You know, and I remember just fast forwarding that day, later on that day, it was raining all day long. It was pouring down raining. I mean, it was thunderstorm, and it was like one of them crazy rains that happen every once in a while that you just never forget about that particular rainy day. Still gotta drink out of a straw. My teeth is really irritated from the coldness. So fast forwarding, later on that day, I ended up working like a 12-hour shift. And so I got home about 6:30 that evening. And when I got home, it was still pouring down raining. I mean, the rain was coming down crazy, man, where it was just, some streets was like flooded with water because of the storm drains couldn't keep up with the amount of rain that was coming down. And so I got a knock at the door that day, and it was from this lady, and she was like, you know, my son had dated her granddaughter, and she was like, hey, your son's missing. You know, he went fishing, his truck is there, his fishing pole is there, but we can't find him. And so I remember, like, I started freaking out. So I hurried up and called his mom, and she said that she was headed to the location where his vehicle was and his fishing equipment was. And I remember I pulled up, and then when I got there, she was basically like, hey, it's fine. He probably, you know, went over some female house, you know, which was kind of normal, you know, pull up at one scene, have a female to pick you up, you know, go kick it with her and have her to drop you back off, or whatever the case is. And so the very next day, I remember going to work, but I was in a panic when I went to work. Like, I kept calling his mom and kept calling his mom, no answer. And then when she did answer the phone, she was like, he's fine, he's with some girl, blah, blah, blah. So that morning at work, like, I just had like this bad feeling in my gut, man. You know how they say women have an intuition? I think men have intuitions too. And so I remember Damion and Bianca lived in Fort Wayne at the time. I remember calling Damion. It was early in the morning, and Damion knew I would never call early in the morning like that. So I called and said, hey, I need you to go out to, you know, Lakeside Park, because they said Deontay is missing and they can't find him. And so Damion, like, he jumped out of bed and got dressed, and they got out there. And he called me like an hour later, letting me know he was at the park, and said fire departments was there. He said a dive team had pulled up. And then I remember I had to get off the phone and get back to work. And then like 45 minutes went past. Damion called me, and he was like, you know, basically he was like, he didn't sound like himself. He was like, Dad, you need to get out here. And I was like, what's going on? He said, Dad, they just deployed 2 dive teams. He said, you need to get out here. I remember I didn't even turn the machine off. I was operating this huge machine that runs steel bars through it. I just walked out the door, literally. I mean, the radio on, my walkie-talkie, everything. I just walked out the door. Got in my truck, got out there, and maybe 15 minutes after I got out there, I seen them pulling one of the dive boats out the water. And then I seen one dive boat that remained in the water, but the dive boat was no longer moving around the lake. It was in one spot. And when, at that point, you know, it was kind of crazy because I knew what was going on when I witnessed what I witnessed, but I still couldn't really comprehend what was going on. I mean, I don't really know how to explain it. It was like it was just something out of a really, really bad nightmare. But I do remember the dive boat that sat there in the water for several minutes without moving. one guy started putting on his gear, and he went down. He came up on the side of the boat, and I seen his thumb go like this to the other people that was on the boat. And it wasn't until I seen some lady, I didn't know that she was a coroner at the time, because she was already there before I pulled up. I seen her putting these blue gloves on, and that's when it dawned on me what was going on. So basically they had found my son. You know, by the time they had pulled him out the water, we hadn't seen him yet, because they had to put like this, when they were pulling him out the water into the boat, they had like put him in his bag or whatever and had it covered up so we couldn't see. And by that time, so many people had pulled up. There was news teams and news cameras that had pulled up and stuff. Like, it was people everywhere. And it was like, his mom was there. My ex-wife was there on scene. She had left work early. It was, whew, the scene was crazy. The scene was crazy. And so basically, you know, Damion, I had to calm him down. You know, he had really lost it, and so did I. So basically, after things calmed down, the lady that I found out was the coroner, she had called me over and the mom over and, you know, showed us his driver's license, you know, and we had confirmed everything. And it was just crazy, because we always see it happening to other people, but we never think that it's gonna happen to us. And it's like, my thought at that particular time, even though it's been a few years ago, it's like it was yesterday. You know, my thought at that time was, I'm Damion Cryer. You know, I've been in prison, I've been shot 6 times. This can't be happening to me. But we think that stuff like this won't happen to us, but it happens to us. And every day from that day forward, I was numb. It's like I didn't know what to say. Some people from my job, from the management side, office workers of my job had pulled up to the scene to support me. They knew I had left work abruptly, but they had also been watching stuff on the news, and they seen what was going on. And I think at that moment, someone at my job had seen me on the news because they had the news cameras out. And I was on the news talking to the cameras, you know, letting them know that yes, it was my son. And I had, you know, had his fishing poles in my hand as I was walking back to my vehicle. But I think like from that moment, I think that's when I felt like I had lost it all. And, you know, ever since that had happened, it's like there was a change within me. Like I've changed. But there was multiple things that kind of made me change and start being different. So I've been to a lot of funerals in my lifetime, like aunties, uncles. My mom's funeral, I couldn't make my mom's funeral because I was in prison. I couldn't make my little brother's funeral because I was in prison. But I had made a lot of other funerals. But at my son's funeral, it was one of the first times I ever stood up in front of a group of people and actually spoke. My family was there, everybody. My exes were there. A couple women I used to date years earlier, they were there with their kids, showing support. And it was the first time I actually stood up in front of a group of people and actually spoke. And when I spoke at the funeral, I was enraged. I mean, I was enraged. When I was talking, I was enraged. I can't remember everything that I said, but one of my peoples did remind me of some of the things I said. And one of the things I said were the people who did this to my child will be found and you will be held accountable. Because at that time, I was under the impression that somebody had did something to my son. You know, my son, man, he was like an Incredible Hulk. Like, he was like really built and to be found in only 5 feet of water. So I remember waiting. I had to wait. It was a long, agonizing 10 days. We had to wait for his autopsy report to get back. And his mom and I were the first ones who had got his autopsy report. And I read the toxology report. And even with me reading the toxology report, I still wasn't fully or thoroughly satisfied with the report. You know, I wanted more. I wanted to point the finger at somebody. But then the reality set in. Despite all the rumors I was hearing, reality had set in. You know, and I had to accept the reality of what had taken place. And ever since that moment, like I said, a lot has changed for me where I wanted to just like give up on life. You know, that year in 2017, Deontay wasn't the only one that I lost. You know, I lost so much more. My whole life had changed, man. Like I said, if you guys watch my old videos back then, I was like 240 pounds, 245 pounds. I was a pretty buffy little steel worker, you know. I still had my weight on me from all those years that I had spent in the penitentiary, you know, but it had been kind of not so well taken care of, if it makes that sense. I was big, but it wasn't taken care of. I wasn't working out anymore like I used to. I was just sunk into like a regular, peaceful, calm life where the gym wasn't important to me anymore. And ever since then, I've never got that 240 back, that 240 pounds. I've always weighed between 205 and 210, even as of currently today. I think I'm 208. But my life changed so much, man. And it's like, people say over time, things change, things get better. And I think they tell you that to make you feel better, which is all good. But from my experience, guys, from my experience, it doesn't get any better. You learn to cope with it a little bit more as time goes on. But it doesn't get any better because you always have those moments. I remember I've gotten into arguments with exes because it gets close to like my son's birthday, which is February 5th. Like when his birthday gets close, I get real agitated. When the date he passes, get close every May, I start to get a little agitated. And my mind is always thinking, then I'd be so pissed off at the state of Indiana court systems for not coming to pick me up during that winter storm for my mom. I mean, so I have so much stuff that I be holding in that be frustrating me. And that's why, like, when I be seeing stuff on this platform, I just either laugh at it or I shake my head, because it's like these people have not even lived life yet. They live life through you, through your mistakes, through your failures, through your oops. They live their life through that. They live their life through your mistakes. And then they throw it in your face and then laugh at you about it. But they have not even experienced life. Like I said, we always think that it's not gonna happen to us. And so I'm gonna tell you guys what ended up happening. You know, after the funeral, after the autopsy report, you know, you guys know during that time of everything was going on, we were at the park planning my son's funeral. And my son, Damion and Bianca, they were supposed to have been at the park with us to plan the funeral. You know, we had like 3 days until we buried Deontay. And I remember being so frustrated because we were waiting on Damion and Bianca to pull up because, you know, trying to get together for the pallbearers who gonna carry the casket and help all this and that. And I remember I kept calling Damion. He was like, Dad, we coming, Dad. We had to make a run. We had to go out of town to handle something, but we're not that far. I remember like we had everything just about complete. And I remember like right as people were starting to leave, Damion called. He was like, "Dad, are y'all still there?" I was like, "Yeah, we still here." But I said, "But we got everything pretty much locked in and I'm ready for the funeral in a couple of days." He was like, "I'm pulling in right now, Dad, I swear." And I remember him pulling in. I seen this Camaro come flying in, and I seen this blue Mustang behind it. And I didn't even know throughout all of my anger, through all of my hurt and pain, everything I was going through at the time, that whole entire day while we were planning the funeral, my son and his wife was out planning the whole day to put a smile on my face to make me feel a little better. That same day, they came and surprised me with a brand spanking new Mustang that I still drive right to this day. You know, when it was just to put a smile on my face because they didn't want to see me hurt and see me down. And for that, man, I'm so grateful. I mean, I appreciate everything. I said I had so much pain that happened that I didn't get a chance to enjoy the wonderful things that was happening. Because the only thing I can think of was my son wasn't here anymore. You guys know, I talked to Darian a few days ago. And Darian said something to me, you know, just really had me thinking a lot. And he and I was on the phone talking. He was like, "Dad, I had a dream about Deontay." I said, "What was it about? Fishing?" He was like, "No." He said, and Darian always tells me this too. He was like, "I remember one day I was at the daycare and Deontay pulled up at the daycare. He was riding down the street and seeing me outside the daycare playing basketball with my little cousins." He said, "I remember when Deontay pulled up and rolled the window down and called me to the car and gave me some money." He said, "I'll never forget that smile that he had on his face." And that's one thing I can always say. My son, he kept a smile on his face. Just like his dad, he loved to gamble, he loved the casino, loved playing lotteries, loved fishing. But he always had a smile on his face whenever you seen him, man. And me and Darian was talking, and you know, I don't know how Darian's gonna feel about me telling you guys this, but I'm gonna say it. Me and Darian was talking, and he was expressing to me how much that he misses his brother, Deontay. And he was like, "Man, I don't want nothing to happen to you or Mom." And he said it on the phone like 3 or 4 times. He was like, "I don't want nothing to happen to you or Mom." And it made me think like, have you been hanging with someone new that lost their mom or dad or something? And he was like, "No." He was like, I just be thinking. He said, "I just don't know what I'll do if I lose my mom or dad." And so at that moment on the phone, I stopped Darian dead in his tracks while he was talking. I said, "Hey, listen, man." I said, "Me and your mom not going anywhere anytime soon." I said, "But I can tell you this, man." I said, "We all have to leave one day. You know, I said, we all have to leave one day." I said, "But we all not going nowhere too soon." I said, "Just try to stay positive, think positive." Darian has lost a lot of people in his life, you know, on his mom's side. You know, his granddad, his grandmother, some aunties and stuff, one of his uncles. So I had to just remind him, like, when your kid comes to you and tell you some stuff like that, it does make you think. And I think what sparked Darian to think about that might have been triggered by something that I might have posted in one of my videos. You know, when I had, or on my community post where I had a picture of Deontay, my son Dion, me and Damon, Akeem, Margaret, and I had us all on my community posts, which is still on my community post. Those are some of the very few things I still have up on my community post right now. It's just pictures of just me and my children. And man, you know, I kind of can feel what my son feels. You know, he's going on 16, and now he's starting to see more, he's starting to hear more, he's starting to pay attention more. And so, you know, I wanted to remind him that because you lose a loved one in your life, don't mean that you lost it all. Because that's how I felt. You guys, like I said earlier in this video, I remember not even wanting to be here anymore, man. You know, I hope that this video kind of reaches somebody who's watching it, and let them know that when you have a loss like that in your life, it doesn't mean that it's over for you, man. You got to keep moving on. Know that things will get better over time. You will be able to cope with things over time. That pain is always going to be there. That pain is never leaving, man. It's never leaving. It's going to always be there for you, man. You know, you just got to know how to embrace that pain. You know, like you could have like for me right now, like today was a regular, normal Saturday. I got up kind of late because I kind of fell asleep on my couch last night watching Tubi in my front room. And I woke up, you know, like, I don't know. It was mad late, man, like 12:30, close to 1 in the afternoon. And first thing I woke up, I'm like, I gotta brush my teeth, dental-floss, shave, and all this. While I was in the bathroom, it just hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, damn, Deontay not here anymore. Because, you know, being that this is October, the weather has changed. And when the weather's changed, it's not as hot as it used to be outside anymore. It's like 80-ish now, 75, 80 degrees. And this is the time I'm thinking about going fishing, getting my fishing poles all brushed up and getting ready for the fishing season. And it's like, I know me and my son, we used to do the same thing. He used to call me when I lived in Indiana. He'd be like, Dad, that summer's almost over with. It's almost time for fall crappie fishing or that fall bluegill fishing, because we like to stock our freezers full of fish in the fall time so we can have a whole lot of fresh fish to hold us open through the winter time. And so it just like, it hit me like a ton of bricks today. And then today, like all day long, it just been like thinking about it, man. It's just something that you won't always deal with. But again, it was a part of me that felt like I didn't want to be here anymore. I feel like when Deontay passed, I felt like I left him alone, you know, by himself. And, you know, it took me a while to realize, you know, that he's not by himself. You know, he's with his grandmother, both of his grandmothers. He's with his granddad. He's with his aunties and cousins and his other relatives that he got to know very well while he was here. And so I have to remind myself, man, that we have to keep on pressing on. But again, like I said, guys, earlier in this video, every once in a while, I do a video like this. You know, this is my way of keeping my son's name alive, man. You know, when I go to Indiana, I try to visit the cemetery when I can. I have some scary moments when I go visit the cemetery that is extremely scary for me. I mean, it's very scary for me because it's like we was hugging, shaking hands, riding down the street, listening to music. I remember the New Year's that we went out, we had a blast, man. We had a blast. And now it's like when I go home to the cemetery, I'm, you know, picking grass away from his headstone and stuff like that. But I know one day we all gonna be together, but I still have a fear of when we do reunite again, I feel like I'm leaving my other kids behind too. And for me, that's always scary. It's like, I don't know, it does enter my mind from time to time. Like, what would life be like for my kids when I'm no longer here? You know, how would they feel? What would they go through mentally? And that's why, you know, as a dad, I try to be there. And I know it's impossible for me to be there for everybody because, you know, I got kids that live in different states, you know, that lives hours away. And I still try to stay close to everybody, you know, but I don't know, man. Leave your thoughts on this video down in the comment section if you guys experience something like this or going through something like this or know somebody who's going through something like this. But yeah, this has just been one of those days for me where, you know, I just been doing like a lot of thinking and stuff, a lot of reflecting on a lot of good times, man. You know, I do have some regrets. You know, when I went to prison for all those years, all those years that I spent away from my kids, I should have, you know, had more time with them, more pictures and stuff with them. And I think a lot of times, this is why I do like a lot of videos when I'm around my kids, because it's just memories for me. You know, it's not really about clicks and views. I do that on my other channels now, and I don't have to really do that over here. But I do it for memories, because that's what's most important to me, man. Those memories, man. And those are memories that I can never get back. But again, man, I just want to say thanks you guys for watching this video, man. I really appreciate it. I love all of you guys, man. Until next time, I'm Damion Crier. Gang.